Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Star Trek Into Darkness, starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho, Benedict Cumberbatch, Alice Eve, Bruce Greenwood, Simon Pegg, and Peter Weller, and directed by J.J. Abrams. Now, I gotta say, I remember seeing this prologue when I saw The Hobbit in An Unexpected Journey in IMAX theaters, and there was something about that prologue that was shown for 8 minutes, maybe 10, that looked kind of obvious. And when I saw the movie the first time, I held on to a few things for about half the movie. So let's see what I'm talking about by getting into this movie. The movie opens with the chase between Captain Jim Kirk, returned by Chris Pine, and Bones, returned by Carl Urban, and some alien race from the planet Nibiru, which is about to explode because of a volcano, and the USS Enterprise is underwater, and Spook, returned by Zachary Quinto, goes into the volcano from a ship sent by Sulu, returned by John Cho, and Uhura, returned by Zoe Saldana. And after Spook's cable wire snaps and he lands in the volcano, they have no choice but to fly their shuttlecraft back to the Enterprise. Once on board, Kirk tries to bring Spook back on board, and as he's not interested in surviving the mission and saving Nibiru, and they do at the same time, Kirk deliberately broke the rules by saving his life, and that action sequence was beautiful to watch, but it doesn't quite make me thrilled to see how they run their ship. And as an opening sequence, it just didn't thrill me. I'm sorry. I mean, it's cool for an IMAX reasons, but I'm not buying it. A couple brings their daughter, visits their daughter, whom I'm led to believe has cancer. I don't know what it is, but she's sick. That's all I know. But the parents have to take her in the hospital, visiting her, and are very sad about their daughter dying until John Harrison, aka Khan, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, says, "I can save her." And come on, you know that he's Khan. Ever since I saw that prologue in the IMAX showing of The Hobbit, I knew just by looking at him that he was Khan, and the mystery was so telegraphed it wasn't very funny. And I held on the entire first half until his name is Khan scene popped up, and that's when my mind shouted out, "I knew it!" But the scene with the daughter is very heartbreaking. And I'm not a parent per se, but the scene is again very heartbreaking. Khan saves the daughter's life and kills the father himself in a terrorist way, which is rather terrible, but the scene was heartbreaking. But for terrorist reasons, that doesn't make any sense. Captain Kirk's ship gets taken away from him as he's demoted to first officer thanks to Pike, returned by Bruce Greenwood, is captain of the Enterprise, and they meet with Admiral Marcus, played by Peter Weller, from the first two RoboCops, and tells Starfleet in a meeting Khan, or at this point John Harrison, is the mastermind blowing up Starfleet in London. And I'm just going to call him John Khan, because, you know what, I don't like the way they just made it a mystery. I really don't like that. Until John Khan, let's call him for now, attacks San Francisco's Starfleet, and Pike is killed, poor guy, and Jim gets the Enterprise back when Jim asks Admiral Marcus to go after John Khan in Kronos. And after the first scene when Jim breaks the rules to save Spock, I found that sequence very, very unrealistic, whereas last week I could let it go, but here, ooh, I cannot let it go. Dr. Carol Wallace, or Marcus, let's say, played by Alice Eve, comes on the Enterprise, and as the crew gets on the ship, and Scotty, returned by Simon Pegg, refuses to sign for the torpedoes because they're shielded up, and as there's bodies in them, and Jim puts Chekhov, returned by Anton Yelchin, in charge of the torpedoes. Why did I call Carol Marcus? Because it's so obvious after watching all those movies. Like Cumberbatch's Khan. Again, very obvious. I just cannot accept its obviousness. And the bodies in the torpedoes is a very poor idea. And again, I can't accept that because it's unacceptable. Jim, Spook, and Uhura get to Kronos, and Uhura asks the Klingons where John Khan is, and they attack each other until John Khan fights the Klingons and spares Jim, Spook, and Uhura because of the torpedoes, and he surrenders. And it is explained later in the film that he put the bodies in the torpedoes, but it's muddled by lazy writing. And it's, again, it feels pretty sloppy to me, in my opinion. Spook tells Jim Carol is a weapons specialist at an irrelevant time, and next thing you know, she's in her underwear. Oh my god, which is very unnecessary. And Carol and Bones see what's in the torpedoes, while Scotty goes to Jupiter, where John Kahn's coordinates are at, and we learn the bodies in the torpedoes are alive, and we learn John Kahn's real identity is Khan. Thank God I can let that go now. And why hold that mystery until now? It was so obvious in the first scene as it didn't make me happy. And let's face it, a lot of this plot is just a bunch of nonsense, as it's a remake of The Wrath of Khan in an unnecessary way. Admiral Marcus attacks the Enterprise, and Scotty is on the I'm going to call it USS Vengeance ship, and he puts Carol on his ship, and Scotty shuts the power down as Jim asks Khan for help by ship hopping, which is a pretty cool sequence, and I did get a little nervous in the IMAX experience, but it was pretty cool to watch. Jim and Khan get in Admiral, or USS Vengeance, let's call it, and Spock Prime, returned by Leonard Nimoy, gives a message to Spook about Khan, and they fight Admiral Marcus's men and reach up to Admiral Marcus, and Khan kills Admiral Marcus, and Khan betrays the Enterprise and to get his crew in torpedoes and shoots the Enterprise, which is taking quite a beating and ticking for the longest time, which is crazy, but hell, this movie is freaking crazy. Thinking I'll give it a good rating, which I might not. We'll see when I get to the end. But I am impressed with their IMAX shots. Jim is doing what Spook did in The Wrath of Khan to energize the ship and dies, and briefly, instead of Jim shouting, Khan! Spook shouts, Khan! Anyways, and the Enterprise gets hit by Khan. Spook goes after Khan and beats the crap out of him for killing Jim until Bones says he needs Khan alive and sends Uhura down to stop Spook from killing Khan, which was stupid because the audience doesn't know will never know what happened to Khan by the end of the day, and I will never get over that plot hole nor this climax and its ending. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.0 out of 10. I do enjoy the IMAX shots in this movie, but unfortunately it's not enough for me to like this movie. It has plot holes issues, and I guess the mystery of Khan before the movie ever came out, it was that obvious. It was just an unnecessary remake of The Wrath of Khan. So we'll be back next week with the Star Trek Beyond, and until then, punch it.